The wind whispered through the hills of Bethlehem, carrying with it the scent of sheep, earth, and wild olives. A young boy stood alone, a leather sling in one hand, and a carved wooden harp slung over his shoulder. His clothes were simple and worn, patched from many days under the sun. His hair curled around his ears in tight, sun-bleached locks. His name was David, son of Jesse, the youngest of 8 sons, and forgotten by most. David, called a voice from afar. It was Eliab, the eldest. Tall, broad-shouldered, and always impatient. He looked down on David with the same disdain the world reserved for shepherds and dreamers. I left you 5 sheep, not 6. Count again. David called back, shielding his eyes from the sun. Eliab grunted and walked away. He had no time for his youngest brother's jokes. There were more important things to do, like training for war. Israel was at odds with the Philistines again, and every strong man was preparing to fight. But David was not called for war. His place was the hills, his companions the sheep, and his music. When he was alone, David sang. His voice danced over the hills like the morning mist. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The words poured from his soul, untrained yet rich with depth. He did not know it, but the heavens listened. So did the birds, the stones, and the sheep. Even lions and bears took pause when David sang. One night, while the stars glimmered above and the sheep rested in a valley fold, David heard a rustle. Not the wind. Not a rabbit. Something heavier. A deep growl shattered the silence. His body tensed. He rose silently, sling in hand, eyes scanning the shadows. Then he saw it. A lion. Massive. Its golden eyes gleamed in the moonlight. Its gaze fixed on a small lamb lying near a rock. David's heart pounded, but he remembered the words his father often mocked him for saying, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear?" With a silent prayer, he took a stone from the pouch at his hip, set it in the sling, and swung it 3 times. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The stone flew. Thwack! The lion staggered but didn't fall. It roared and charged. David grabbed his staff and met the beast head-on. He struck it across the nose, then wrestled it as it lunged. His hands found its menere, and with a cry of strength that came from somewhere deep inside, he plunged his knife into its side. The lion fell. David stumbled back, panting, blooded, victorious. The lamb bleated softly. "You're safe," David whispered, cradling the lamb in his arms. "God is with us." Days later, the household of Jesse was in a stir. A prophet was coming. Not just any prophet, Samuel, the one who anointed kings, who spoke with God. Jesse lined up his sons, Eliab, Abinadab, Shamar, and 4 others. All tall, strong, and regal. But not David. He was in the fields, again forgotten. Samuel arrived with his aged face stern and eyes that pierced through lies. One by one, Jesse presented his sons. Eliab stepped forward. Samuel looked at him and thought, "Surely this is the one." But the Lord whispered, "Do not look at his appearance or height. I have rejected him." Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. One after another, the sons were dismissed. Samuel frowned. "Are these all your sons?" Jesse hesitated. "Well, there is still the youngest. But he's out with the sheep." Samuel's eyes narrowed. "Send for him. We will not sit down until he comes." Moments later, David arrived, dusty, sun-tanned, smelling of sheep. His eyes were curious, glowing with a light not from this world. Samuel stared. Then God said, "Arise and anoint him. He is the one." Samuel took a flask of oil and poured it over David's head. The oil dripped down his curls, into his eyes. A warmth spread through his chest. From that day, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David. Yet Jesse didn't make him a king. His brothers didn't kneel. No fanfare. No crown. David went back to the sheep. But heaven had taken note. War had come to Israel. The Philistines had drawn up their army near the valley of Elah. On one side, King Saul and the men of Israel. On the other, the Philistines, and a monster, Goliath of Gath. He stood over 9 feet tall, a bronze helmet on his head, scale armor that weighed more than any man could lift. His spear was like a weaver's beam, and his shield-bearer marched before him. Every morning and evening, he came forward and roared, "Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I prevail and kill him, you will become our slaves." 40 days this went on, and not one man moved. Not Saul, not Eliab, not anyone. Jesse, unaware of the growing terror, sent David to the front lines with bread and cheese for his brothers. David arrived, eager to see the battle, but instead saw fear. Warriors cowering. Goliath shouting. And no one daring to speak. "Who is that uncircumcised Philistine?" David asked, eyes blazing. How dare he defy the armies of the living God? His brothers scowled. "You've just come to watch the fight," Eliab spat. "Go home to your sheep." But David ignored him. He went from soldier to soldier, asking what reward would be given to the man who defeated Goliath. Word reached Saul. The king, desperate for hope, sent for David. "You are but a boy," as Saul said, looking David over. "He has been a warrior since his youth." David lifted his chin. "When a lion came to take my father's sheep, I went after it and struck it. I killed it with my hands. The Lord who delivered me from the lion and the bear will deliver me from this Philistine." Saul, seeing the fire in the boy's eyes, finally relented. "Go," he said, "and may the Lord be with you." Saul tried to dress David in his own armor. It was too big, too heavy. David shrugged it off. He took only his staff, his sling, and 5 smooth stones from the brook. As he approached the valley, the sun gleamed off Goliath's armor. The giant saw David and laughed. "You come at me with sticks? Am I a dog?" Goliath sneered. "Come here, and I'll give your flesh to the birds." David did not flinch. "You come with sword, spear, and javelin," he shouted. "But I come in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. Today, he will deliver you into my hands." He ran forward. The giant moved, his armor clanking. David reached into his pouch, set a stone in his sling, and let it fly. Whir! 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 Thud! The stone struck Goliath's forehead. Time seemed to stop. The giant stumbled forward, then fell. The ground shook. The Philistines gasped. David ran forward, took Goliath's sword, and cut off his head. A roar rose from the Israelite army. The Philistines fled. Victory had come through a boy with a sling and faith. That night, as the camp celebrated, David sat by the fire. He looked at his calloused hands. The same hands that played the harp, now stained with the blood of a giant. Saul eyed him with awe and envy. The women sang, "As Saul has slain his thousands, but David his tens of thousands." But David didn't care for praise. He looked up at the stars again and whispered a new song. "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." David's journey did not end with Goliath. It had only begun. He would face betrayal, exile, temptation, and war. He would make grave mistakes. But he would also become Israel's greatest king, a man after God's own heart. And it all began with a boy, a sling, a song, and a faith greater than fear.